Yeah, well, yep, yeah, it's old. Yep, sorry I couldn't help you. All right, you too. All right, bye. Jeez. That was another one, Pa, trying to drop off one of those crappy old S200 snowblowers. What's with these people?
That's like the third one today. Don't these people know that those snowblowers aren't worth fixing? It costs too much to repair than what they're worth.
Customer! I'll get it, Pa. Oh, hey, Skippy. Did you try that spark plug for your snowblower?
Yeah, I tried it, and it didn't work. So I guess I'm gonna have to drop this old gal off with you, so you can get her running tip-top shape again.
Well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, Skip, but we're not gonna work on that snowblower. It's way too old. All right, sorry, bud.
What do you mean you're not gonna work on it?
It's too old, Skip. For what it's gonna cost to repair, you could just buy a new one. It's not even worth it.
Okay, well, I guess I'll just leave now then.
Oh, come on, Skip. It's not even like that. It's too old. That's all it is. It's nothing personal.
Next you're gonna say, I'm too old, right?
Oh, come on, Skip. You're killing me. Skip, it's not even like that. Skip, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Skip. Skip, come on, Skip. Don't be mad. It's not a good investment, Skip.
Hey, look at that snowblower, man. Let's go snag it. Make a couple of bucks.
Oh yeah, Tej. We could definitely make a couple bucks off that one.
Hey, what's up, Taryl?
Oh, hey, TJ. You, Sticky, you need to wait outside.
What? Come on, why, man?
Because you're a thief. So wait outside.
Can you just look at this?
No, we don't work on those.
Come on, man. We just want to blow some snow.
Yeah, man.
No, I'm sorry. We don't work on these. Plus, you dug this out of the trash. Skippy was in here earlier today trying to get us to fix this.
No, this has been in my family for a long time and stuff, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, guys. We're not going to work on it.
Come on, Tej. Just get out of here, man. He's obviously not going to work on it.
Flip this place.
He's got nothing good to steal anyway.
Please,
You little punk! Get out of here! Pterodactyl here. Today's video is going to be on these old Toro snow throwers. This is an S200, 1980, and this is a S620, 1988. This is the newer one, so they made some improvements to it. So the first thing we're going to do is go over the improvements they made from the S200 to the S620. Now the first improvement is they went from a 3 horsepower 2-stroke Tacoma engine in the S200 to a 6 horse. That's why it's called a 620. 6 horsepower and it's 20 inches wide. The S200 was 20 inches wide. They didn't call it an S320, they just called it an S200. And then I remember back in the day when I used to work on these at Brother Farrell's, one of the problems that we ran into a lot were these handles would break. They would loosen up. See how this one's loose? The hardware would come loose. And people would never tighten them, and this would break. So then you would order the replacement handle and it would be steel. So on the newer one, the S620, they made everything steel. These handles would break too. They'd always come in broken, these handles. And then that's so you can pick it up and kind of flow snow with it like this too. Because it's not that heavy. They came with electric starters. This one's got an electric start. This one doesn't, but you could always add one. Here's the muffin. It's in the rear axle area. It's got a belt So when you run it, it's spinning all the time. They're not bad snow blowers. They're just, the problem is, they're so old that when you bring it in for repair to a regular shop with the labor rate, and especially if the paddles are wore down and the scraper bar's wore out and needs a belt and needs a tune-up, people usually don't opt to put all that money into these old snow blowers. But if you're doing it yourself, then you're going to save all that labor. But they're really not bad snow blowers. I know 2 people that still have these and still use them. It'll throw snow pretty far if it's deep, but if it's, you know, only a couple inches, it just kind of poops it out through these vanes. Another improvement they did is on the vanes. So look at the vanes here. These are just flat vanes, and then later on they added this little like rib to it. So if one of these came in and it needed vanes, when you would order the new vanes, this is what you'd get. So sometimes you'll see these snow blowers that'll have like a couple of these vanes on there, you know, different ones on these older ones. That's because they probably broke and they replaced them. This one just popped out. But they just don't die. A lot of shops won't work on them, only for the fact that they're old and they're expensive to repair. But, you know, we'll work on it if you want to spend the money. Some people don't want to spend it. You know, it's a couple $100 usually by the time you replace everything on it, if it needs it. Now this one's not bad. This one's in pretty decent shape. The scraper bar is a little worn. But that's another thing you gotta, this scraper bar, when it would wear down, and if you didn't replace it, it starts to wear into this cover. And then it would wear all this out too. But this one's not in bad shape. This one either. Yeah, see this one here? You can see how this is starting to wear from rubbing on the ground, on the driveway or the concrete. And then these screws would rust. So you'd go to replace these paddles, these screws would either break off or they'd strip out. So there's a lot of labor in trying to fix this auger when you got a bunch of these busted hardware in there that you have to get out of there. You know, and you're paying for all that labor time. And it's not easy to fix these when those bust off in there. If they strip out, these are number 10 screws. If they strip out, we would replace them with number 12 self-tapping screws. But if they break off, you have to take this all apart and get that broken piece out of there. Now these paddles aren't bad. Rule of thumb is, if you can get your fingers behind the paddles, back here, then the paddles are wore out. These are marginal. This thing will still blow snow. It could use a new set, but we're just going to concentrate on getting it running. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to pop this cover off so we can get at the motor, and we'll do the usual. See if it's got spark. It feels like it's got compression, and we'll see if we can get this old girl running again. There's 3 screws up here. With a 5/16 head. And you got 2 on the side. 2 little short ones. 5 screws. Take out the gas cap, and that cover will pop off. Now another thing on these old snow blowers, this plastic would get brittle over time, and this plastic would break. These would snap off. So that's another expense, you know, if you want that cover fixed. Then you got to find a used cover. So that's why a lot of shops won't work on them if it needs a lot of work done to it. Now we got the tank off, or the cover off. There's some old fuel in there. It smells pretty nasty. Too bad we didn't have smell-o-vision. You'd be able to smell the gas. But there's some old nasty fuel in there. We can get at the carburetor right here. It's back there. So if we have to get at it to rebuild it or replace any of the parts, we have to take this back cover off, which isn't too difficult. So what we're going to do is, I'm just going to spray some carb spray in there. And we're just going to see if it'll run and die for a second. And that'll let us know if we got spark and if it'll run. It's going to run. Need to spray a little more in there. Now I know I should put some dinosaur cocktail in there.
You're gonna ruin it, Taryl. You're gonna ruin it by spraying that straight fuel in there.
This motor will be fine. I'm not gonna ruin it for running it for a second. All right, it's gonna run. So let's make sure everything's tight. And this is loose. And that's because there's a nut that goes on this side of the recoil, and that nut's missing, which helps to support the engine. Now, this being a 1988, this engine has solid state ignition or electronic ignition. I could see right here, here's the flywheel. If this had points and condenser, you would be able to see the coil or part of the ignition through here, because this is a Tecumseh engine that they're using. And I could see there's no ignition under there. Let's pop the cover off this old one. I think it's already, yeah, there's just one screw. The rest are all busted and missing. It's a 32-to-1 mix. That's what it says on the gas cap on both of them. And this one, let me get a light. This 1980 has still got points of condenser. I could see the ignition under the flywheel. I could see it through there. See, there's the condenser right there. So this old one's got points. So if you brought this to a shop and it had no spark and it needed points, it's a lot of labor that you're going to be paying to pull this flywheel and get that ignition working again. The cover's all busted. Like I said, all three of the bottom mounts of the cover are busted. So this one wouldn't be feasible to repair. Let's see if the electric start works. Let me get a cord. I should have a cord around here somewhere. Yeah, here's one. There's another problem. See, this back cover would bust. See how this plastic's all breaking? This is all busted up. So this one's in pretty bad shape. The electric starters break. You know, they don't make parts for them anymore, so you'd have to find another starter, and maybe between the two you can make one good one. Yeah, see, this starter don't work. Oh, there it goes. It's got this plastic gear, and this thing's so old and brittle, the plastic on it, look at it, it's already starting to break off. Spray some carb spray in this one. I gotta get a key. Let me take the key out of this one here. Just 2 switches. There we go. Woo! Sounded like it wanted to start. Nope. See if this one's got spark. Get my handy dandy spark tester. Oh, it's got spark. Somebody was looking at this one. Somebody gave me these. I forget where I got them. Give it a good shot. Because that plug was dry. Whoa, wants to go. She's kicking. Oh, there went that gear. So now you'd have to replace that gear. There it goes. So this one will run. Take a comparison of the engines here. You can look at the blower shrouds. See how this one's a little slimmer? This one's bigger because this is a 6-horse. Cylinder, head and everything. Looks like the same head, but look at the cylinder. This one's rounded, this one's more squared off. It's got a bigger piston in it. No ring gear on the flywheel. So if you wanted to add electric start, you got to have a ring gear. So they must have been selling these, because usually if it's got that hole and you could add electric start later, the flywheel would have the ring gear on it. And it's cut away like this, so you could add the starter. See this one? No way to add a starter. So you couldn't add electric start to this one, even though it's got the hole in there. So this one would run, probably do the carburetor, but it's just kind of beat up. So let's concentrate on this one. I'm going to go ahead and drain all the fuel out of there. And we're going to pull this cover off. And it's got a diaphragm carburetor on it. And I'm sure that diaphragm is hard as a carb. That nastiness out of there. Now we need to pull all these screws out the back. 5/16. See, this cover's not all busted up like that other one. Does have a crack starting there. My little tray again. Put screws in. Then I pull the rope out. Then I tie a slip knot in there. Like my favorite band, slip knot. Let me show you how to tie that slip knot. Wrap it around your finger. Go like this, make another little loop. Put that loop through there where you had your finger. Now you got a slip knot. So that'll hold the rope out for us. And then when we're done, all we do is pull on the rope. Just like the band Slipknot. You want me to sing one of their songs? I don't know any of them. So I'm going to Slipknot this again. Oh, we need to disconnect the primer hose from the primer. Pull off the connector for the switch. And then get this link disconnected, this Lance link, secret chimp. Lancelot link. I just call him Lance for short. It's got a Z-bend in there. You might have to bend it a little bit. Got that unhooked. Uh-oh. Sounds like money's here. There's your dinner. Now that back cover's off. Now the real old S200s, older than this 1980, I believe they started making these in 76 is when they made the first one. And the first one didn't even say S200 on the hood. In this area, or this one here, where they put the decal, S620, this one said Toro, S200. The older ones, I think the sticker just said Toro Snowmaster or something on it. But it did say S200. And this one's got the link, the Lancelot link for the choke. The real old ones had a regular choke cable that you pulled out. It didn't have this knob you turn. It had a knob you pulled, and it had a cable, and that cable would bolt to here. This hole back here. So when you want to take the cover off, you would have to unbolt that choke cable from back there and then undo the Z-bend. Those are the older ones, like 79, 76 through about 79. Then they went to this kind of choke setup. So there. Didn't take long, and now you got the whole engine exposed. And there's that diaphragm carburetor. Now what we used to do at Farrell's shop when these would come in, because we would take in hundreds of these a year back in the 80s. And a lot of times they would have been in the year before, and we probably rebuilt the carburetor and all that, and they just had old fuel in them. Or this was another common problem. People would run out of gas, and instead of mixing the gas and the oil in a separate can, they would just pour the oil in the gas tank and then pour gas on top of it and shake it up. And then the oil would go right through the fuel line and clog up the carburetor. So if that was the case, when they come in, we dump out the gas, put some fresh mix in there, and we take out this adjusting screw, and we would have the primer hooked up. And then when you would pump the primer, it would put pressure on that diaphragm, and gas would shoot out of this adjusting screw. And we would just keep pumping it. But this one, it's not doing it because the carburetor's probably plugged up. But it would squirt out, and we'd get all that oil out. Once gasoline started coming out from pumping it, we'd put the screw back in, set it at its right adjustment, and then the snowblower would run And we could do all that without taking any of the covers off. We would just drain the fuel, take this screw out, because see there's a window here to get at those adjusting screws. And then say, okay, just charge them, you know, like 20 bucks, and then go, here's your snowblower. It's running again. Next time, mix the gas and oil in a separate can. Or if it had old fuel, we could do that. Purge it, get it purged out by pumping that diaphragm. See, this one's a little different. This is a newer style diaphragm carburetor. It's got this plastic cover on it. For those guys that have worked on these, they know that there's some that have the metal, like that 1980s, probably got a metal cover under here. But usually it was just a carburetor on these. Yeah, this one's got a bunch of oil in it. And if you noticed, when I just took this off, some knucklehead was in here trying to fix this, and he put the diaphragm in upside down. Diaphragm goes like this. The metal disc goes up. So somebody installed this incorrectly, because this is still soft and pliable. We could use this over. Now, on the back of these carburetors, there's a F. This says F3. If you didn't have the F, the diaphragm assembly goes on a different way. And I'm going to show you a little diagram that explains that. So hold on, I got to get the diagram for the diaphragm. I got to get the diaphragm diagram. So this is out of the manual showing you the correct way to install the diaphragm. This is the diaphragm diagram. So if you got an F carburetor, diaphragm first, then the gasket with the ridge up, the disc. No F, the gasket, then the diaphragm with the ridge up. So that's important to know. So this was the one I just took off, which is still good, but it was totally installed wrong. Because here's the gasket. And we have an F on our carburetor. So we want the diaphragm, then the gasket. Alright, so let's reinstall it. And let's put some dinosaur cocktail in it. Let's see if we can get this thing running. I wish we had some snow. I know that sounds weird. Why are you wishing for snow? What are you, some kind of freak? We don't want snow. Well, the only reason I want snow is so we could test some of these snow throwers. And then there's another discussion going around. Is it a snow thrower or a snow blower? What is the difference? Like that matters. You know what it is? That's from the terminology police. That's not a snow blower, that's a snow thrower. Yeah, what difference does it make? You know what it does? They all do the same thing. They move snow. Whether it's a snow blower or a snow thrower. Be sitting there splitting hairs over terminology. I hate that. Now I can already see it in the comments. Alright, I'm going to give it a quick little spray. Just to rinse that off a little bit. Here's your needle and seat right here. This little booger right here. It's got a little pin in it with a little spring behind it. So that's your needle and seat. That's all there is to these carburetors. We do have a video, a more extensive carburetor repair video on this. It's in our playlist under Snowblower videos where I go into deeper discussion of this carburetor. But this looks like it's just going to be a quick simple one here. These engines use an air vane governor system. There's no mechanical, well, it is a mechanical governor, but it's an air vane mechanical governor. It doesn't have, you know, a governor inside the engine. And here's your throttle, which has got a rod going to the air vane. And this is your governor spring right here. So if you want to adjust the engine speed on yours, say you want to rev it up higher than what's recommended, all you do is bend on this lever right here. Because that's what we would do at the shop. After we got them running, we would check the RPM. Sometimes we'd boost it up a couple of hundred RPM. Just so, you know, it'd have a little bit more speed and it might blow snow a little better. But that's all you'd have to do is bend this. Put more tension on that spring and you're gonna raise the engine speed. Because, you know, it's a fixed speed. There's no throttle on it. I'm going to hook the hose back up. And I'm going to put some mix in it. I'm going to take that screw back out and I'm going to see if I can get that fuel to pump out of that adjusting bolt. Okay, I got the fresh dinosaur mix in there. Now I know it says on the cap 32:1. I use that 50:1 mix that most people buy now. That'll work in here because that's like a multi-ratio oil because it's synthetic. Whereas when this thing was manufactured for 32:1, they were still using petroleum 2-cycle oil. So you don't have to be afraid or be scared that you're going to ruin it because you put some 50:1 in there. It'll work. You're not going to ruin it. Some of them 2-cycle oils like Echo, they claim that you can mix that stuff 100:1 and it won't burn up any of this older equipment. Plus this thing doesn't rev real high. It's only running at about 3,600 RPM. It's got a little tag on there, ours. This is ours. So we know whose it is. Whose snowblower is that? That's ours. All right, take that screw out. See if we can get that stuff to come through. It's fighting me. I can hear it. I can hear it pushing on the needle in there because that's what we're doing. We're pushing against that needle. Here it comes. Here it comes. So this is what we would do back in the day when they would mix the oil or try to mix the oil and gas in the tank. And we would just pump it like this. And you're like purging it out. You could purge through it. It's a little trick Brother Farrell came up with. You think I know a lot, you ought to talk to him. He should have his own YouTube channel. He doesn't need to have his own YouTube channel. He's very successful without having a channel. Okay, I'm going to put this thing back together. I'm just going to put this back cover on. Let me pull that hose off. And we'll see if this thing will start. Gotta kind of help it, get it in there. Give it a wiggle's worth. Don't be scared. I'm gonna hook up that choke. And if you bent that rod, just bend it back. Make sure the wires are out of the way. You're not gonna rub on anything. I'll put a couple of screws in to hold it. Because if you don't, this muffin pipe's going to get hot and it's going to melt this cover. Steal the key back out of this one. Choke it. Another thing you want to do, look down in here. Where's that flashlight at? Should have that thing clipped on me all the time. There's that little cup back there for the carburetor. So we would lean them back a little bit and pump on that primer until you would get some fuel in that little cup. See? See, I had to pump that thing quite a few times. Look at, there's fuel in there. Kind of nasty fuel, but they're still in there. So now we know we got gas going to it. Died out. It's a noisy little bugger. Alright, still got to put that nut on the other side to hold the engine steady. And it's smoky in here. I had to leave the choke on for quite a while. Then when I took it off, it started running on its own. But let me find a nut, 1/4 20. I'll probably use a locking nut, and then we'll fire it up, fire it up, fire it up, fire it up again. All right, I put that nut on the recoil side to stiffen up the motor. Let's start this thing up again. Let the choke on. So another thing we would do is that we would test these by putting it under a load if we had no snow. And another thing we would do is tilt it back while it's running. Because the way the engine's sitting, a lot of that old nasty fuel and stuff would be down in this part of the crankcase, and we kind of want to scavenge that out of there. So I'm going to do that now. And then that screw adjustment, I always start at 1.5, and then you may have to lean it out a little bit. So some of these the older ones have 2 adjustments on here. This one's only got the 1, the high speed. The low speed is blocked off on this one. Oh no, it's in there. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's see what that one's set at. 1.5. So I'm gonna open that one to 1. Because I know on some of these, they only had one screw and it was a plastic screw. And I think in that video that I've got on this, I talk about with that plastic screw busts off, how you remove that plastic screw. And it's a pretty simple trick. So let's start it up again and I'm going to lean it back. Now it's not dying out. These pesky customers coming here wanting to give me money all the time. Hey, take care of that customer up here. I'm trying to make a video. So, of course you would do that outside. You wouldn't do it in your shop. But we just did it in the shop just to show you. So you lean it back until it clears out. You know, you would do it outside. And I set this screw at 1, this low speed. And I got this back one, this high speed, open at about 1.25. And if you notice, when I put a load on it now, it didn't die out. So I know a lot of shops don't like to work on these, but this one here, that's what you would do. If a customer brought this in, you would evaluate it like I just did. You'd look at the paddles, you look at the scraper, you look at the condition of the plastics. You know, you give it a pull. Oh, it's got compression. Okay. Yeah, why don't you leave it? We could probably get this one running inexpensively, and then you could get this one going again. This one's a different story. This is going to cost a lot of money. You're going to have to replace that gear if they want the electric start to work again. Rebuild the carburetor. The plastic's all busted unless you had a different, you know, a different cover, a good used cover to sell the guy. You'd want to tighten up this handle, put the missing screw in there, tighten this up real good, check it, make sure it's not busted. Because like I said, this lower handle and this handle would break a lot. You would look at the paddles and that and think, well, it might need paddles. Chances are most of them screws, if not all of them, are going to break off. Yeah, I don't know if you want to put the money into this one. Unless you were doing it yourself. Then that's a different story. You can still get the paddles, you can still get the scraper. I think you can even still get these little vanes. But they're not a bad little snowblower. They just don't die. They won't die. Another nice thing is it's light. You can use it like a shovel, and you can hang it on the wall, out of your way. It doesn't take up a lot of space. Like I said earlier, I got a couple of customers that still have these. They still run. They still use them every year. I mean, it's not going to throw it 30 feet, but it's going to clear your driveway. It may take a while, but hey, it works. I wish we had some snow to try it out. We might do a follow-up video with the most dangerous snowblower ever made in this one. When we get some snow, we can take them out. Listen to that annoying squeak. That's the wheels. Got to oil them too. If my cats were here right now, they'd be going nuts when they hear that noise. It would scare the crap out of them. That high-pitched noise. They'd be howling and wow, wow, wow. They'd be going nuts. So there you have it. The snowblowers that just refuse to die. The old Toro S series. What a snowblower. Bringing back a lot of memories. Probably bringing back some memories for you too. Man, I worked on hundreds of these things back in the day. When I was a teenager all the way up into my young adulthood. In my 20s and early 30s. The S200. Oh yes, the fond memories we had together. Testing them, tipping them back, filling the shop with smoke, getting yelled at by my brother. Take that thing outside! So subscribe to this YouTube channel, Taryl Fixes All. This is me, Taryl, wearing a Nope shirt. Gotta get one of these. Knuckleheads operating power equipment. And you know what? I'm one of them knuckleheads. Woo! Get yourself a spark plug necklace. We got all kinds of stuff on our site. Check it out. Follow me with your S-Series Toros on Facebook and Instagram. And as always, there's your dinner. Woo! Easy fix on the S200 or S620. Let's just call it the S-Series. Or the little plastic Toro snowblower that wouldn't die. It just won't die. All right, Junior.
Yeah.
I got another one of these snowblowers for a junk pile. Here you go.
Well, I was going to have you put it in that pile over there with the rest of them, but so much for that.
Yeah, well, you can do that. Your arms and legs aren't broke.
I'm busy.
I'm gonna break them arms and legs if you don't put that snowblower in a junk pile.
Hey, Taryl.
Oh, hey, Scruffy.
I got a snowblower out here. Maybe you could take a quick peek at it.
Maybe. As long as it's not one of them old Toro S200s again.
I don't think so, dude. I don't know what brand it is, but it's right out front.
Well, let me take a look and see what you got, Scruffy. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's one we'll work on.
Oh, okay, great.
Oh, no, not this thing again. Ah! Why does it keep coming back? Oh, just let it die. Let it die.
So you're not gonna work on it?
No!